And I had a friend who was in a car accident, and immediately he left his body, and he was out of up in the wherever, and he was watching, observing the whole thing, and he saw his body in there, and the police come and the ambulance come, and he's watching this whole scenario, and then he said, "Well, I guess I'd better go back down there." And then he went back and came into his body. Now, while he's observing all of this, no pain, no nothing, zero. He comes back into his body. Then he starts feeling all the pain from the injuries, etc., etc. But death is, it's not some mysterious thing. It's part of life. They call it another life, but it's the same life in a different situation.
We have the wisdom evening this Sunday, and we spoke about death, and we spoke about particularly, we watched Surviving Death, and I know we've talked about this documentary before, but we haven't really talked about near-death experiences and what happens after you so-called die.
Well, before we go there, what was the topic? Makes you feel small.
Yeah.
Puts you in your proper perspective.
Yeah, and that you need some higher authority, some direction to guide you through the storm, because you can't do it on your own.
All right. I forgot that part. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, kind of. So we released that one, and that's going to be I didn't mention this idea to you, though I published it to everyone else. I wanted to make hiking diaries. So I wanted to make these kinds of podcasts every now and then. And I'm going to call them hiking diaries. So if you have a hiking story, then we could do an episode about your hike, like we did now. I spoke about the story and we spoke around it, and I told the story. So that's an idea.
Yeah, we have a new one every week.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, we can do once a month or something, because that was a hiking diary number 1. So from here we can.
Yeah. Okay. We can do that. I can make something up if it's not true.
No one will be able to check.
Nobody's going to trace it down. Yeah.
No, but yeah. So it seems like there's 2 camps in this field of how we see life, and that's what I wanted to kind of bridge the gap between what people see as spiritual people that are all into ghosts and mediums and the fluffy stuff, and you have on the other side the really scientific guys that just see that and they reject all of it because they feel that's obviously garbage, and there's no proof for it, so they're very strict to that. And of course this documentary, I feel, is a bit colored by those people who are perhaps more on the what's seen in society as the spiritual side. So I wanted us to maybe bridge the gap and give some more tangible proof and understanding what actually happens when you die. So it's not just like left like a pie in the sky and seen as very cosmic, because it's not very cosmic. It can be very practical and real and understandable, and we can So yeah, that's what I felt.
Well, most of even both camps that you referred to, they base their conclusions on speculation.
Yeah.
In other words, that's basically how it all is, except those who have, some faith in the Vedic scriptures who give us authoritative information. So even the doctors or whatever that have, observed out-of-body experiences, near-death experiences, and so on, it's still filled with speculation about what happened, and they don't really have any concrete information.
Yeah.
So that's the problem. If you don't accept an absolute authority, then you got no other recourse but, prove as much as you can, which is not very much, and speculate on the rest.
And believe that you will be able to prove what you can't prove right now in the future. And that's how you sell the idea to people, because you say, well, we're gonna be able to prove it. We just haven't yet.
Yeah. Or the other side is nobody will ever know.
Well, yeah, I see.
I mean, there's another side that says that, well, nobody knows that and nobody will ever know.
And science, that's not up to science to talk about even, yeah? Like so the idea of God or higher authority comes in, and they just say, well, that's religion. That's not science. So we're only talking about.
So they just reject that whole story.
Mm-hmm.
Although there's a few scientists that do conclude from their research and observation and scientific approach that it's impossible that there can't be a supreme intelligence, they call it, above all of this, that's making all of this possible, because it could not happen by chance. It's just impossible.
No.
That all the intricate workings, even within, the material body,
yeah,
and they can prove it, that, there's no way by chance that this could take place and that could take place. There has to be an intelligence designer behind all of this. But those people that actually came to such a conclusion, you may have seen a video on that with BB.
Yeah.
What happened to them after that was they got rejected from the scientific community.
Yeah.
They just were like no longer trustworthy, or no longer, allowed to have such a conclusion.
Yeah. Because they speak about things that are seen as
It's religion,
Mm-hmm.
But, they said after this, and it was a group of scientists that met from many different fields of science. It wasn't just one guy. It was a gathering of the highest level, researchers in this field, medical researchers. And they concluded, there must be a higher intelligence, and if you want to call it God, so be it. And they got rejected, man. They got criticized. Their work was, thrown out as unscientific and whatever.
Because they didn't like their conclusion. That's very weird scientific approach. We don't like your conclusions, so it's
just heretics, So, you can't really say the truth to a lot of people, because they will throw you away. They reject you. They cancel you, so to speak. Now we live in the cancel culture, and anything that, they don't like, they just cancel you. And it goes through a lot of different areas of, the society. Whether it's in the social media and you get, canceled or blocked or banned or whatever, censored, or if you go through the medical profession and if you don't fit a certain narrative, then you're just done away with.
Yeah.
One way or another, they have many different techniques to silence you.
Yeah, but that's...
or label you in such a way that nobody wants to listen to you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but well, that's and that's where I guess I mean, this documentary is like Surviving Death. It doesn't have all the answers. It leads, it's can be someone could totally reject it and just say, all that's non-true, because these people are like this and they're just I don't know, believing in God or some higher power. But so that's again what I wanted to help people to see, where this all fits into the whole picture of life. Like there's a bigger picture here, and if you understand the big picture, then like if you just look at one little piece at a time, it might be very hard to understand. But if you see the whole puzzle, and then it's like, and then it's obvious that this piece has got to be there, because then the whole puzzle fits. And yeah, so
Yeah.
there are because like this documentary says, I mean, just to kind of mention that a little bit for those who haven't seen it, or any yeah, there are more documentaries and we could, but generally, like, there are stories. So near-death experiences are generally, or out-of-body experiences, I guess it's kind of synonymous, where someone, usually due to medical condition, has left their body for some time, and there are cases mentioned in this documentary that I remember, that people that are blind, completely have no, like, their physical eyes are, they don't work. They get operated, and some severe injury happen, and their brain shuts down, no pulse. They after, so they leave their body. They can see the operation room from above. Suddenly, they can actually observe what's happening to them, and afterwards, when they've come back, they've been able to describe all the items in the room and all the tools that the doctors used, how these tools looked, and tools that they've never seen before, and what the doctors did, and there's no way that they would be able to describe that. Plus, they have measured, and they have no brain activity. Like, they've even put electrodes in the brain, and even, well, this person, for example, the brain, it had no activity. Like, there was no pulse, there was no brain activity, and still this happened. Then it's like, that's kind of
Right. Yeah.
So that's showing the point that, hey, you're not your body. Actually, this body is a tool that you're using, and it's separate from you.
Yeah. And that's, that's the teaching of our teachings. I mean, that's very authoritative, absolute truth. So if you don't accept these absolute authorities, you're always going to be stuck in the world of speculation. And then you can argue, well, that was that person's experience, but whatever. I mean, or you can accept it and say, oh, this is proof. But the next guy says, well, it doesn't prove it, because, that was just one isolated case or whatever. They can always come up with some reason to reject it.
Yeah.
So, you'll never know the truth until you accept the truth. I mean, what can we say? But the soul's eternal. I mean, that's the fact. And the body's temporary, and you're going to leave the body sooner or later. I mean, everybody does. But you can leave the body and come back to it, because it's not your time. Everything is based on an absolute system. And if it's not your time to leave the body and go on to another body, etc., then you're going to come back to it, or you're too attached to it. Like, I've talked to people who had these experiences.
Oh, you have, yeah.
And, in every case of the people I talked to, they said, well, they were out of the body. They were at a junction where they were either going to go on or not. And each one of them said, because of, they had some strong attachment. Usually it was to kids. It seemed like, I can't leave my children. Who's going to take care of them? Or I can't leave my husband, or whatever. Some attachment made it so they came back. That's what brought them back. Whereas if they hadn't had that, they felt like, I mean, it was their conclusion, they would have gone on. Because the future, that path, we'll say, it looked quite attractive, but they had that attachment, so they came back,
Mm-hmm.
And I had a friend who was in a car accident, and he was quite badly injured, and immediately he left his body. And he was out of up in the wherever above the car, you know, and he was watching, observing the whole thing, and he saw his body in there, and he had a lot of damage to his chest because it slammed him into the steering wheel. And he saw the first people that came up on the scene, they're doing what they're doing, and the police come and the ambulance come, and he's watching this whole scenario. And, he's just like observing. And then he said, well, I guess I'd better go back down there. And then he went back and came into his body. Now, while he's observing all of this, no pain, no nothing, zero. He comes back into his body. Then he starts feeling all the pain from the injuries, et cetera, et cetera. And so, yeah, there's unlimited stories that people, say about, but, if you understand, yeah, I'm not the body, and I was out of the body, but it wasn't my time. See, he decided, okay, I better go back down there.
Wow.
So there he goes, back in the body, and then all the suffering and rehabilitation and everything that came after that.
So how is it like? Just without what happens then? I mean, you don't have your physical eyes, but you still see somehow. What makes it possible for you to see?
Well, when a dream, what do you see in a dream?
Yeah.
Do you see with your physical eyes?
No.
No. So, you have, well, I don't know what the perfect term would be, mental vision or psychic vision, or,
But
you can see beyond the ability of gross eyes to see.
But a dream is, I guess, I feel like that's more like going through your memories and just repeating whatever's in your head. Like it's not actually something real. Maybe it is, but I don't know.
Sometimes it is.
Maybe it is. It's true.
I mean,
yeah, it's true.
I know one person very, very well. That's all I'm going to say about him. Who left his body, and he saw himself. He was practicing, he was sitting in the lotus. He was like this. He was oming, really on this, out of the body journey, purposely so, trying, to see what would happen. And he left his body. And he could look down and see himself sitting there, the body's sitting there, but he's out here looking around. And it was quite I'd say, scary experience?
Yeah, I can imagine.
It was, or a shock or whatever. Wow, and because of that, because of, the unfamiliarity of it and the fear involved, and not comfortable with this, he went back into his body. But he retained full memory of it. It was like, wasn't vague. Was that real? Was that a dream? It was absolutely real.
Mm.
So there's more vision than just the vision of the physical eyes available, So ghosts, they don't have a physical body. They see. They move around in their subtle body.
Yeah, that's exactly what I. For those who haven't heard, maybe that's an important point that can explain this about the subtle body, that we actually have two bodies.
Yeah, you have the physical body, which is the one is so captivating in people's, life. And then there's the mental body, and So, whether you leave the body due to an operation or some, there's a lot of drugs, hallucinogenic type drugs that can take you out of the body,
Yeah.
and there's yoga practices that can take you out of the body, and so on. And you're still you, but you're covered by the subtle mental body, And I don't know if did you see the movie Ghost? It was a long time ago. Probably you weren't even born yet.
Just the only thing that I'm thinking about when I hear Ghost, I'm thinking Ghostbusters. I saw that.
No, but it was about that time.
Oh yeah.
But and although it was a Hollywood production, Patrick Swayze was the main actor, and so on. But nonetheless, it was a lot of truth in that movie.
Oh.
So somebody who wrote the script and, was involved in the production had some information.
Mm-hmm.
And I know at that time there were, more than one person working in Hollywood who had, this kind of information. I know that because I knew some people. But anyway, one of my friends was an actor, and he was very involved in this process. I mean, he was full practitioner, and he knew the people in Hollywood. And he said, yeah, some of these guys, they've been, they've read the things that we read, and they've gained some information that we have, and so on. But anyway, that's not the main point. But the movie itself was quite accurate. So, it was about a person who was murdered untimely, and he left his body, but he was very attached to, his girlfriend. And the person who murdered him was, very evil guy, and she was also, connected, an associate with him. They were kind of, knew each other, and he was trying to warn her about this guy.
Oh.
But of course, he's out of his body, so he can't, go up to her and say, hey, watch out for this guy. He's a bad guy, kind of thing. So he was trying to communicate with her, but of course he couldn't because he didn't have a mouth to speak. She couldn't see him, but he could see her, and he'd be where she was and trying to get the message across, and et cetera, et cetera. And he met another person who was a ghost in the same kind of, situation, not the same exact situation, but they met on a train, and this other guy said, get out of here. This is my train, And he said, well, what do you mean it's your train? And anyway, there was a pack of cigarettes, in the train car where they were. And he said, the second ghost looked at those and said, I want one of those. I really want one of those, because he was obviously a smoker, but he couldn't smoke because he's got no body he still had the desire, but he didn't have any physical body to fulfill his desires. And that's what a tragic situation a ghost is in. They're so frustrated because they want to communicate, or they want to smoke, or they want to, do whatever they have desires to do. Like we all have many desires, but they got no physical way to execute it.
Yeah.
So it's almost like if you were paralyzed in your body because of some accident or some disease or whatever.
Yeah.
You want to do all these things, but the body just can't do it.
Yeah.
So it's real. We have all these material desires on the subtle level, and the body is just how we execute them.
Yeah.
Whereas the ghost doesn't have that, So that's another whole level of material life that a lot of people reject. There's no ghost, or, you're just imagining all this, but it's not. It's your karma for whatever you did that made it so you had to be in that position.
And spend a specific amount of time in that.
Just spend the amount of time in there according to your karma. You're destined to be in that ghost body for X number of days or weeks or months or years or whatever. Mm-hmm. That's why suicide is so tragic, because that's the future.
Yeah.
Of a person that commits suicide.
Yeah.
Because they were destined to be in their physical body for, say, 50 years or 80 years, whatever, but they commit suicide at 20 years. So they've got 30 years to go in a ghost body, and so on. So all this information is contained in the Vedic scriptures, and we don't have to speculate on it and hear it from some clairvoyant or whatever. I mean, this is, time-honored absolute truth. It's been handed down through perfect teachers since time immemorable.
Yeah.
And so people think, the spiritual stuff is only about, heaven and whatever, which, may or may not be true. But there's also information about the material workings and how this whole world and universe is functioning.
I see what you mean. It's not just the floaty, what they see as floaty and intangible stuff out there, or these weird experiences, but it's really down to earth stuff.
Like in Srimad Bhagavatam, it talks about karma, and it says, okay, this action will produce this result. You will have to experience this result if you do this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it is. Just like in a, material society, there's a law. If you just told us about it last night. If you turn left on this one-way street and you're not supposed to, and you get caught, it's going to cost you 5,000 crowns or whatever you said.
Yes.
That's the law, So why can't there be subtle laws or laws of material nature that control us as well? Why only these man-made, external laws? Why can't there be the laws of nature? And there are, So all of that is contained in the Vedic knowledge. And so people who follow this system, just like okay, I got ability to turn left, but I'm not going to do it. You make a decision because if I get caught, it's going to cost me that much money.
Yeah.
So if you know this other system of, laws of material nature, well, I'm not going to do that because and you do get caught always. It's not like maybe there's no cops around or there's no cameras. You automatically get caught because it's all known. And you say, well, no, it's not worth it, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. And then you can make the conscious decision whether you think that's worth it or not.
Yeah. Exactly. So when it comes to death, well, if I live this kind of lifestyle, if you have this information, if I live my life in this way, and I'm creating this karma, and I'm creating this consciousness, then when I leave my body, this is what's going to be my future. And it tells us in the Vedas. So you decide, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to live a different lifestyle, so I'll have a better future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, it's real intelligent. But we're not very intelligent beings sometimes. I mean, we make stupid choices. Even when we know that some material choice is going to result in a very big problem, we still do it.
Yeah.
Because that's lust.
I was going to say intelligence is covered over. It's our intelligence is there, but it's covered over. Just like you said this morning about that intelligence is always there. It's a part of who we are, but in this world, it's often very contaminated and used for the wrong purpose, used to serve the mind and the senses and enjoying this world.
And it kind of comes back to what we were talking about last week, of how small we are.
Yeah.
You know, we were talking about how nature makes you, puts you in your place kind of thing, makes you realize I'm not the guy. I'm not the controller. I'm just a little ant out here, you know. So, you know, we are controlled, and, you know, we're controlled by either one of two forces. Love for the Lord, you know, spiritual love, and we'll be controlled by that, which means I'm trying to please the one I love. And that means I'm going to do the right thing, because that's what the whole message is about. You know, do these things because it's pleasing, it's beneficial to your relationship. But don't do this because it's not pleasing and it's damaging to the relationship, you know. Or you're controlled by lust, you know, and you just do whatever lust demands through the mind and the senses and so on. And you just are controlled by that. So even though you know it's wrong, you do it anyway, because the lust and the desire is stronger than your little bit of intelligence that said, don't do that, but you can't not do it. You know, like an alcoholic can't not drink. You know, he knows it's, you know, I was told this story on a lecture recently, that there was a person in Hawaii, this was in like 67, 68, you know, and he was one of the best surfers. I mean, he was known as Mr. Pipeline. Pipeline is one of the most famous waves in the world, and very, you know, demanding, difficult wave. And especially in those days, I mean, you know, the equipment people used and so on was far inferior to what is available now. And so on. Anyway, but he started hanging out with local guys, you know, local Hawaiian guys. And, you know, they drank a lot. You know, that's just kind of how it is. And so he just got right in, became one of the local boys, and was drinking all the time. And he became an alcoholic, and so bad that the doctors told him, if you get drunk one more time, you're going to die. It's going to kill you.
Wow.
I mean, that's how far down the road it went. But one day he went to a wedding at one of his friends in the church, and he came out of the church, and it was in Haleiwa. Haleiwa is also a small little town on the north shore of Oahu, and it's a very good surf break right there. But anyway, there's a beach park just right there as well. And he looked up from the church. He could see into the beach park, and he saw some of his old local friends up there just kind of sitting under a palm tree drinking. And so he just went up there to say hello. And, you know, as the story goes, he, you know, oh, come on, have a beer. He had a beer and then another one and couldn't stop. And it killed him, died right there.
Oh, wow.
And the guy was probably 28 or 30 at the most. You know, he was around my age. He wasn't any old guy.
Wow.
But he could not do it. I mean, he knew, okay, don't do it. It's going to kill you. But he could not do it because he was controlled by the force of alcohol, you know.
Wow.
So the point is, you're either controlled by one of two forces, love or lust, you know. So the wise person early on starts saying, well, you know, lust is a bad option, you know, and if he's got good association and access to the information and accepts it, he starts living a different life, going in a different direction.
Yeah.
You know, knowing, well, this path, and it is a path, is a path of destruction. No matter how good it looks, even if this lifetime it turns out okay, the future in my next life and the following lives will be, very dark. So he gets the picture, so to speak, and he uses his intelligence and the path of light. We'll just call it light and darkness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The path of light, makes it so you use your intelligence, in the right way. And so, you're encouraged to do that. You're informed about all of this information. Hopefully, if you're following this path, your association will also be reinforcing it.
Yeah,
and
because one thing is knowing it, but it's made me think, like, again, that you're so small. You might know that, but might still be very, very attracted to go to these guys and do it. So how you
Well, yeah, because he hadn't chosen the path of light. He was in the other influence. He was under the force of lust, and that's why we've talked about this many times, in the true, Vedic bhakti yoga teaching, there's things that you're told from the very beginning, don't do this, because that will put you under the control of lust, passion, and ignorance, and so on, so much that you won't be able to not do it. You'll be forced by those forces to do it.
Yeah.
So there's a science here. We talked about the scientists, but this is the real science. This is the proven science. And a wise person will, oh yeah, that's what I'm going to do with my life.
That's again very practical. It doesn't need to be a big floaty, spacey thing. We're not I guess in a sense, you always say this, like, one step at a time. We don't focus on the heaven and the spiritual experiences, or so-called, but the daily activities that you do, because that's what you can do. Like, you do what you can do, and then,
Yeah.
the result is what it is. But you do what you can do.
I just listened to a lecture a few days ago, and our spiritual master was saying that the most important thing in spiritual life is association. The most important thing. So, if you know that, then you will arrange your life to have that good association. See, I mean, if a person's got cancer, let's just use this example. A person's got cancer. He knows it's going to kill him. I mean, cancer's got a pretty good track record. So he'll do whatever it takes to try to cure himself of that cancer. So if it means he's got to move to another place, he'll do it. Okay, here's a doctor in a completely different part of the world, but he's got a very, very good record at curing cancer. You'll go there, Or, you'll get support from your family. Yeah, we'll have a GoFundMe page. We'll collect the funds to make it so you can get this treatment. They're not going to say, oh, no, don't go there. Don't go. We like you here. We want you to stay here with us. No, they'll basically kick you out the door if they really care about you.
Yeah.
But when it comes to spiritual life, everybody tries to stop you. Or you just get so stuck, oh, I don't know. Yeah, it would be good if I, went to this meeting, or I went to this place where there's a lot of people that are, doing this, and I can have that association. But I got a good job, and, I kind of like my house, and, in other words, we got all kinds of reasons not to do it, because what? We're still controlled by material attachment. We're making decisions based on material considerations.
Yeah, man, you've got cancer. You're gonna leave at any time. Like, maybe you should do something about it.
Yeah.
That's the situation we're in.
Yeah.
We
We got a terminal disease. It's called death. Yeah. So we should really try to make the right choices. Prepare now. Yesterday was Lord Nrsinga's appearance, and, Prahlad Maharaj was trying to convince his 5-year-old playmates, now is the time.
we're just
Come on, guys. Don't waste time because, we're 5 years old, Prahlad. Come on, we want to play. No, we don't have time. We don't know how much time we have left,
No, and when you're a teenager, you're gonna just think about girls and sex life, and then you're gonna marry and you're gonna think about your kids, and then you're gonna be old and you're gonna think about your grandkids, and
and old age will come in and you'll feel too debilitated and no energy left, and
yeah.
And then it's too late.
You have that full story on Happy Man YouTube channel if anyone wants to hear it.
Yeah.
I heard it yesterday.
So it's a wonderful opportunity that we have. But death is, it's not some mysterious thing. It's part of life. Life is our eternal existence. And so death is a part of life. You spend a certain amount of time in one body, and then that body, no longer is capable of housing you, so to speak, and you have to leave. You get kicked out, and then you go into another body. And there you have, they call it another life, but it's the same life in a different situation. Maybe a different species, maybe another human form, but a completely different one, a new material identity, etc., etc. And you identify with that. And okay, this is me now.
Yeah.
And then you kicked out of that one and go to another one. And we just keep going through these transitions from one body to the next.
And temporary labels, temporary identities.
Yeah. Temporary enjoyments, temporary illusions. I don't know if you ever heard this story. There's a nice story about King Indra. He's the king of the heavenly planets. And he committed quite a serious offense against a great sage. And he got cursed to take birth as a pig on earth. So he came down and took birth in this pig body. And he, he was just identifying completely as a pig. He had his pig wife and his pig kids, and life was good, and he was just enjoying life as a pig, And so this curse was for a certain length of time. And when that time expired, the demigods, were saying, well, come on, Indra, where are you? It's time for you to come back and take up your position, as the king of the heavenly planets. But he didn't come, and so they go down, and here's Indra, just enjoying life as a pig. And they say, come on, Indra, come back home. And no, he didn't even identify, didn't even want to. He's so covered over. So anyway, they, took him out of this, illusion and the pig body and everything, and then he went back and he assumed his post. But even the king of heaven can come under those kinds of spells or illusions, and, so what to speak of us, And so that's why we need that association. We need that expert guidance from our spiritual masters. and this Vedic knowledge that's, so valuable. And it's not a light subject. Your death is not a light subject.
No, I know.
And it's hard for everybody. Even those who have the knowledge, in most cases, it's not easy.
But
And those around them who have the knowledge, it's still not easy. That's stated in Scripture. It's not easy. I mean, for some people, yeah, on some, very high levels, but still it's not easy, So,
to leave this world in the best way possible and to go to the best destination.
Yeah. And oftentimes death is associated with a lot of suffering, physical suffering. Struggling with the body and it's deteriorated.
Or the brain is not working properly and you can't.
And the mind is, always a struggle sometimes. Not always, but definitely can be a struggle. So the more you're prepared, the more you're ready, And even if it's a huge physical struggle, which, in many cases it is, you override that with your connection with the Supreme Lord, your knowledge, your intelligence. You're being helped. If you have, done it right, you have people around you, friends who are helping you, and, the whole thing is orchestrated in a good way.
Which should give you hope, because it's not that the same thing happens to everyone and whatever you do is just random and everyone gets to go and merge into a white light like most people describe after this near-death experience. It's not like that. How you lived your life will affect what happens. And
exactly.
So
there he is.
Oh.
Yeah, the screen went dead, but it's back. So yeah, and I remember, our spiritual teacher said, when you hear these near-death experiences, they always talk about the light and the warmth. And he says, that's just the people who are telling you that part. But there's a lot of other people who have a lot of different experiences, not so nice things, And they didn't go on. You didn't see what was down the road there.
And that's not something that we're very quick to forget the bad things that happened to us, and we're very reluctant, I think, to even speak about it because that helps us remember it, and we don't want to remember it. We just, Frank, again, I have told him to join the podcast. He will do it someday, but he has a story to what you just said. Where
bring him on. Tell him, come on.
He was in a bad state, and he was seeing these kind of dark creatures starting to crawl on the walls.
I've also talked to more than one person about that kind of story. When you leave your body, you don't know who you're going to meet out there. If you look at the astral world, it's just another layer of the material, a subtler layer of the material world.
Right.
So it's inhabited by people also. So just like on the gross physical level, you might go to any given city, let's say, and you might meet some nice people, but you also might meet some very unnice people, And you might have a horrible experience, and, people might attack you or rob you or whatever. In other words, everybody's not a nice guy. So on the subtle level, it's the same, So when people used to travel a lot astrally from taking LSD, for instance, on some journeys into this dimension, they'd have a wonderful experience. Oh, beautiful colors, and everything was like heavenly, and they met some really nice people because, yeah, they had that journey, But then there was, and they called, oh, that was a good trip. That was how they referred to it. But then, maybe the next time it was a bad trip, and they saw all these horrible creatures and people were eating them up and biting them and, whatever. And they came back just in shock, And while they were out there, I mean, you could understand they were crying, they were screaming, they were, doing, all kinds of reactions to the horror that they were experiencing. So, it's people just have these, what would we say? These fantasies about things that aren't real. Let's be real here. People, oh, I want to go into the astral world. You don't know what you're going to get. And you don't know if you'll get stuck there. Many people can get stuck there and you can't get back,
Because you left your body, so someone might have just, oh, there's a body, free body. Nice.
Well, that too. But I mean, you may just get stuck there in another way, psychically. And even though you might come back in your body, you're still stuck in that place.
Yeah.
It's called, astral casualties, so to speak.
Exactly.
So you're never right. You're always, messed up.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something to play with. We certainly do not recommend any of this kind of, idea to exploration, we'll say. Do not do it. It's very, very dangerous. Follow the teachings, follow the path of light, guaranteed to work by the Lord himself. It's his creation completely to bring us back to the spiritual world. And there is a real spiritual world, not a fantasy that, oh, we're just creating something in your mind of how you hope it would be. No, it's very, very perfect and clearly described in this Vedic knowledge, Brahma Samhita, Srimad Bhagavatam, etc. And that's our real home. That's our real home. And so that's the whole purpose of the human form of life, is to traverse this path and go back to our real home. There's nothing like home. Everybody's experienced that to some degree. And if we've had such a horrible material experience in our home, we're always hoping for that home. Oh, I would love to have a wonderful, home life, where everything was filled with love and, care and respect and, So if we never even experienced that, the hope for that or the desire for that or the wish for that, the feeling of regret, I didn't have that, is there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
yeah. That our need for that is there, and that proves the existence of that. But that's another topic we could.
There's a saying: you can't want something that doesn't exist.
Exactly. Yeah.
And all these desires of the heart for peace and love and harmony and, just everything you could imagine to make you feel safe and happy and, filled with love is there. It's there. It's real.
Yeah.
But do we want it enough to pursue it? Or just write it off as, doesn't exist.
And lose the opportunity and lose the chance to,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did we kind of touch on what you wanted? Or did we leave,
I
did we leave stuff out?
I think we did. Yeah, I think we did. If anyone has anything more that they would like to know about this, then of course let us know and we can touch upon it in some other.
I mean,
Some
these
other talk.
podcasts, we just start somewhere and we don't know where it's.
Exactly. So we're sorry, but we don't have a plan. My notes.
We don't have notes.
No, I wrote 2 sentences for. So.
No.
Yes.
But yeah.
No, let's chant.
Yeah, let's chant. This wasn't one of the short ones.
Oh no problem. No problem. I want to have long ones as well, so that some people like long ones and they like to really go into depth in a subject. And I'd like to give them opportunity to do that.
Yeah, good. Haribo Goranga Haribo.
Haribo.
Goranga 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 Haribo.
Haribo, Goranga, Goranga, Haribo. Haribo, Goranga, Goranga, Haribo.
Haribo. Goranga. Goranga Haribo.
Haribo,
Haribo. Goranga. Goranga Haribo.
Haribo, Goranga, Goranga, Haribo. Haribo, Goranga, Goranga, Haribo.
Haribo. Goranga. Goranga Haribo. Haribo. Goranga. Goranga Haribo.
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 Okay, once again. Haribo Goranga.
Goranga Haribo.
Yeah, you know how songs get stuck in your mind sometimes? Like you
Mhm.
just can't get them out.
Mhm. Yeah.
Let this one get stuck there. It's a good one. You know, not everything's bad. Say, oh, I hate this. I can't get it. But depends on what's stuck in the mind. If this mantra's stuck in your mind, you're fortunate.
Yeah. It can be a good thing. Perfect thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, Ruben, let's call it good.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks. Thanks.
Yeah, whoever's been joining us or will join, thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
And subscribe to this channel and share it with others.
Yep. Pass it on.
Yeah. The more you pass it, the more you will receive.
True that.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you guys very much. Thank you, Ruben. Thanks, Lava, and
Thank
the
you.
Chintamani team.
And thank you, Valkia. Thank you.
Yeah. Haribo to everyone over there.
I will. Yeah.
Namaste.